remember to. Awesome. Well, hi, Matt and Tal. Thanks for joining us for our webinar on SmartRaise. So SmartRaise is one of our new integration partners. We're super excited about them because they offer some different fundraising options than what we offer. So you're able to do really cool things like ACH and direct debit and different currencies. And Sam is going to walk us through the platform, give us a demo, and talk more about that. So thank you, Sam, so much for joining us and showing us all about SmartRaise.
Thanks a lot, Amy. And yeah, thanks for joining today. So yeah, I'm just gonna go through really today, dive straight in, show you a bit of the methodology behind the product, who we are as well as a company, and kind of who we work with. And then also how you can integrate SmartRaise with other tools, including Action Network. And then just kind of a sort of open Q&A to see if there's anyone in the network or any partners who have any questions. Really open to that, and it would be nice to have a discussion if people are interested to kind of ask specific questions. So yeah, I'll start sharing my screen now. So hopefully everyone can see the deck. So yeah, with SmartRaise, it really, the kind of origin of the product came out of working with a lot of nonprofits across Europe, but also the US and other geographies. And we found that a lot of organizations were kind of quite good at raising money for one-off fundraisers or crowdfunding, but they weren't particularly, they didn't have much of a strategy around how they built long-term funding. So all of our partners and our customers are in the progressive space. So we work with a lot of green parties across Europe. We work with other international NGOs like IPPF and also refugee charities and charities kind of large and non-profits large and small, as well as unions and political parties as well. I would also say that we also have an ethical stance in everything we do as an organization. So we don't work, although we don't have a kind of particular political orientation ourselves, we don't work with organizations that undermine democracy, the rule of law, promote violence, hate, discrimination. So yeah, just to make sure that like that's very clear in our kind of takeaway of where we position ourselves. And it also kind of gives, I think, our customers and partners reassurance that we're not working with anyone who kind of promotes those values which contradict theirs. So yeah, just kind of the broader goal of the product, really, as I said, is to take organizations and nonprofits from this before state where they're seeing peaks and troughs in their fundraising around these media events, campaigns, elections, and so on. And they're often seeing quite sort of high monthly churn rates, high fees, managing those kind of troughs and peaks. And it's unpredictable, right? They can't predict their income over time. And our goal with SmartRaise is to really get our customers to the state where they have a steady, predictable stream of monthly recurring revenue. They have higher conversion rates and therefore lower fees. And so what we did with the product is we wanted to differentiate and provide something different where we focused not just on kind of new donors. If you imagine it like a bucket of different types of donors, we didn't just want to focus on the new donors. We wanted to have a product that helped our customers manage those active donors, so that people are kind of already in your bucket of donors, and also manage the kind of leak in the bucket, so the churn donors, the people who are leaving you for various reasons. They could be intentional or unintentional. But we wanted to focus on the whole picture. And why do that? Why focus on kind of this area of upgrades and recovery? because over time, churn really kills your income. So it compounds and it gets worse over time. So if you're losing people, they're leaking from the bucket of your donor pool, it really has a compound impact over time, unless you can refill the bucket with new donors. So it's really key to have something there that automates that process and really keeps people giving over a long period of time. And then another kind of key stat that leapt out to us was that for progressive organizations, it's often the cost of acquiring a new donor is actually more than the amount that they give. So all of the conversations you have, all of the the interventions and the kind of time that it takes to get that donor on board, that effort is often outweighed by, it's actually more in terms of your staff and organizer effort than the cost of keeping your existing donors. So keeping your existing donors and growing your existing donor base is really key, as well as having new donors come in. And so briefly, SmartRaise offers a whole suite of different ways to do this and to kind of meet this challenge. The first area is having really good user-friendly donation forms and pages. And these pages and forms can be embedded in a similar way like Action Network in any website. So where you're not dependent on any one platform or anything like that, you can embed them any way you wish. You can also take recurring payments, obviously, and one-click card payments, and also critically bank debit payments. So we offer global bank debit payments. So pretty much any payment method in Europe or indeed ACH in the US and PAD in Canada as well, we support. And this allows you to retain a lot more because with bank debit payments, people's bank details don't tend to change so much, so the retention rate is higher, whereas cards expire, etc., etc. We also then have what is unique to our product, which are these done-for-you upgrade and retention flows. So I'll go into a little bit more detail in the demo to explain what those are and how they work. But essentially, it's messaging that intervenes at key moments to keep your existing donors and ask them to give a little bit more in a respectful way. So I'll just show you a couple of example customers, if I can. There we go. A couple of example customers live using the system. So one is Eurozyme. So they're a European publication that focuses on European culture and journals and campaigns. So you can see here they have a support section. We can go to their support page, and you'll see some of our embedded forms here in action on their page. So you can see that this form is embedded. This is a WordPress site. They can choose amounts, they can choose frequency, and then we have the direct debit giving option or the card giving option in one page. So that's kind of one of their forms on some of their support page, their donation page. They can also, the forms are very flexible, so they can also be embedded anywhere you like. So a lot of our customers are now using them for contextual giving. So for example, in every article, they're asking their readers to donate inline inside the article as well. So it's a really flexible way of kind of adding your donation ask to multiple places. Another good example of an organization that's using SmartRaise to raise money in multiple currencies is St. You, who are a brain injury recovery charity started by Emilia Clarke, who you may know from Game of Thrones fame. So they're using our system to to take donations in multiple currencies. You can see here it's detecting the currency based on the user's location. This instance, I'm in Canadian dollars, and I can go through. I can choose which payment method, so PAD, which is Canadian Direct Debit, enter my details, and then the payment is set up, and it's automatically recurring every month. So yeah, I'll go back to the deck and just kind of go into some of the recovery features and the unique features in a little bit more depth, and then show you inside the system itself. Yeah, so our first goal with the product is to make the giving process a lot easier. So as I said, and I just showed you some of the forms. So we have a form builder that you can use to create the forms and then embed them on any website. Our system accepts automatically Apple Pay and Google Pay. It will detect it based on whether the user has that or not. And you can connect your payment providers. So we offer 2 payment providers that we connect with: Stripe, which is pretty common, and also another one called Go Cardless that offers a lot of this bank-to-bank debit and direct debit payments. So there's a lot of flexibility in the system there. And the checkout experience, we've focused really hard on making it very easy for donors. So less text and less friction. And then, as I said, these local payment options and mobile payment options as well. And recurring giving nudges that I'll kind of go into in a little bit more depth in the next one. So yeah, one of the unique features of SmartRaise is the ability to automatically upgrade donors based on their giving history. So I'm going to give you an example here of one donor. This is Laura, and she's a donor who's giving a regular amount every month. In this instance, she's giving £14 per month by direct debit. And within our system, we can set up an automation to automatically ask her to upgrade her donation after a particular period of time based on her giving history. So after a specific period of time, Laura will get, after 6 months, an invitation to upgrade her donation by 2 suggested amounts. And the process of her upgrading that is a one-click process. Because we already have her direct debit, her bank details stored in the API, we can just literally give her a one-click process. She confirms, and her direct debit the next month will be upgraded to the new amount. So what we're trying to do here is really reduce the friction in giving without having to enter new details again and kind of go through the whole setup process. And yeah. The second area is about automatic recovery. So this is when a donor churns or their payment fails, for example, for some reason. We have inbuilt automated workflows to help recover payments for you without you having to manually intervene. So in this example, we've got Carl, and Carl's giving £50 each month, but then he changes bank. So his bank account no longer has money in it, his old bank account. So in this instance, our system would show that his payment has failed, so he had insufficient funds. And what we tried to do first is we have this process called intelligent retry through our payment provider, and that will, behind the scenes, automatically try his bank account silently without bombarding him with messages asking him saying his payment has failed. It will ask 3 days later, 5 days later, the bank whether there's funds there and whether we can try and soft retry his bank account. If that fails, then SmartRaise will start automatically sending these reminders to update his bank details, and he can click the review direct debit. And again, it's a one-click process. He goes there, he just has to fill in the data that is out of date. So in this instance, it's bank account number, and then his direct debit is updated and he's recovered. So we're really trying to do this in the most unintrusive, respectful way, but also have a proper system there that's automated and doesn't just rely on our admin staff having to manage all of this process in the nonprofit. And suffice to say, all of these emails and everything can be customized to your brand and branded. So I'll show you that in a little bit more depth now. Oops. So yes, if we go into SmartRaise, so you'll get an account if you sign up with us. And you'll see this is my test account for polar bear protection. And I'll get a brief overview here of what I've raised within SmartRaise. I can connect my payment providers, so I can just literally connect my Stripe account, my GoCardless account here. And then I have various other options here. So my emails and designs, my nudge automations that I just showed you, my donation pages, and also webhooks. So I can kind of send data to other systems like Action Network and other places. So if I go into an example of one of my upgrade asks, you can see here, I have a very easy editor where I can just edit things directly in here. I can basically rebrand this and change the colors and so on to however I want for our brand, add our logo in, etc., etc. Yeah, and I will move back to show you next a little bit more in a little bit more depth about the integration with the Action Network as well. So yeah, with the Action Network integration, we can send the data in real time from SmartRaise to Action Network. So as soon as someone filled in our form here, it would be sent through to the Action Network, and that would include all of their details. So whatever details you end up putting on this form builder, first name, last name, you can add to this whatever form fields you wish. If you can match them in the Action Network database, you can create an integration through Zapier. And in this case, I've just created my integration here. You can see my app. I've got my app coming in, my trigger, the Action Network. My event is to donate to a fundraiser. And you can see all of the fields are just mapped straight in here. So the title, fundraising page title. I think you have to start with a fundraising page in the Action Network that you create, and then you can just map the fields over, and subsequently it will all automatically flow into the Action Network. And this works for both single donations but also recurring donations. So that will record the donor's contact details, as well as the amounts that they're giving. And then that will allow you to target them with future campaigns through your Action Network in terms of emails or fundraisers that you have going on. So yeah, pretty powerful when you connect the two tools together. And yes. And then I'll briefly now go into what the impact is. So what's the impact overall? Like, what results do we see? Well, obviously, our goal here is to increase conversion rates. So we see a higher conversion rate using our tool. Typically, we're able to increase donation amounts, so we get more revenue, and we're able to reduce the amount of donors leaving us, so we have a lower churn rate. And this is kind of very indicative based on some stats that we've pulled together through both customer experience, but also kind of estimations of kind of future giving. And I should say this comes with a big, like we don't make any kind of promises about this because every organization is different. But in this instance, across the subset of data that we looked at, we were able to reduce the churn rate, the amount of people leaving, from 2.9% in this instance that were leaving every month, down to 0.3%. Sounds like a small sample rate, but actually even that small reduction has a really massive impact over a long period of time. So like over 5 years, because it compounds, you're talking about basically double the revenue than you would have had previously if you'd had nothing like a system like SmartRaise in place. So if you had no way of recovering those donors, or if you were just trying to do it manually. So we know it works, it's very powerful. And yes, that is the sum of my presentation. I know we've got quite a lot of time, I think. I like to keep it quite short, and I would love to hear from any questions. I don't like to just hear the sound of my own voice for hours. So yes, anyone who would like to ask a question or share anything, very welcome.
Hey, Sam. Hey, this is Seth from Action Network. So thanks for, again, for hosting this webinar to kind of talk a little bit more about the integration. Folks that are joining us as attendees, if you do have questions, feel free to put them in the chat so we can respond. I actually got a Q&A that came in. So Matt says that they are interested in learning more about the integration with Action Network.
Yeah, sure. So the integration, basically, I guess I can kind of explain a little bit more about it in terms of the data that it allows you to send. So it's really from two sources. So one can be incoming new subscriptions. So when someone donates, you can basically just map that data and send it directly in real time to Action Network. And then also there's a recurring, the ability to listen for recurring donations as well. So whenever there's a new donation made from the donor every month, automatically would be recorded in Action Network as well. So you should be able to see pretty much all of the data that you would see natively through any other donation method in Action Network. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question, but also happy to sort of send you any documentation we have on it as well.
And then Amy also just shared in the chat the instructions on how to set up Action Network via the Zapier integration. So folks want to get that, that is in the chat. And also we'll link to the documentation recording for YouTube. And it says also those donations are then targetable in Action Network, appear in your activist record and your transaction history. So that's really important that you can see it in all those places. Cool. Thank you, Amy, for sharing that, and also Sam for clarifying a little bit more about the integration. Do we have any other questions from folks who have joined us? So I think, Sam, you did share your contact info there on one slide. Could you repeat that one more time if folks wanted to learn more about SmartRaise?
Yeah, sure. I'll post my email into the chat there, so hopefully everyone can see that. So yeah, do reach out to me if you have any further questions or you would like a individual demo or consultation. I can see one question from Matt, another question from Matt as well on training. So yeah, it's pretty simple to use because it's not a particularly complicated product from a kind of back-end perspective. So we don't really find that there's a very big training barrier at all to our product. Because it's not replicating what Action Network does or other tools which do a lot more. So no, it's not. I would say it's not a complex tool to use. And then in terms of the costing, well, we can send you the pricing table if you kind of ask us to, and it's kind of, we try to keep it quite fair in terms of being able to be used by smaller organizations and bigger organizations. And one of the differences is that we charge a sort of flat monthly fee based on usage versus a percentage. So we don't take any percentage of donations on top of the payment providers. So that's one thing to bear in mind as well.
Thank you. So got Matt's question answered there. That's a good one too. I don't necessarily have any questions. I don't think you've really kind of hit all the points with regard to how someone can use SmartRaise with Action Network to really help reduce the churn while also accepting types of payments, payment types. Matt said, thank you, Sam, great presentation. We definitely love the pricing table and that awesome. Okay, if there are no other questions, I'll give it a couple more minutes here. But I think that probably brings us to a close. I really appreciate the time coordinating across the water as far as timing. So this is fun to be able to do this, and hopefully we can have more collaborations where we're working with our partners in Europe and abroad, so that there's more awareness around tools that integrate with Action Network that can do really powerful things.
Yeah, no, thanks so much, Amy and Zeth, for organizing, and thanks everyone for attending.
Fantastic. All right.